Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am so excited because, as you all know, this is one of my favorite shows that I do. We come on every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on E360 TV, as well as streaming on Facebook to bring to you amazing works by authors and recommended reads. And this is to help you to expand your vision, your life, for yourself and for your family. And some of these reads are not all about being serious. Some are funny. Some have some historical basis, but we believe that we are bringing forward to you authors that are going to make a difference in your life, make an impression. And today I'm very excited to have joining me Dr. Derashay, and I am about to bring her to the stage right now. How's it going?
It's going wonderful. What about yourself? Hello.
I'm doing well. I am so excited. I love sharing the platform with you. I love having conversations with you because you just challenge us to say, what am I going to do now, right?
Yeah, right.
Now that the truth has been laid on the table. And today we're going to be talking about Influence 365. But before we get into that, I want to tell the audience a little bit about you. You are a pastor. You are a technology wizard. You are an influencer. You are a global leader. You are making a difference in all that you do, showing up because your message about creating impact, influence, and income is designed to help us expand and create ripples around the world on a global stage, and showing people that it first starts with us recognizing who we are, whose we are, and walking in that truth. And your book here, Influence 365, is a collaborative book, yet it's a devotional designed to help us navigate that journey. And I read all the books that are here. Obviously, because of the way this is written, I wasn't going to sit and say, let me read from cover to cover all of these amazing inspirations, Dr. Derashay. But what I did do is I highlighted some key messages that you specifically wrote. And I want us to talk about, because I found it very interesting, and I love the titles because the titles were very, very captivating. Claiming Your Throne, that's number one. Catch Your Vision, Embrace the Shift, Divine Interruption, and Launch into the Deep. So if it's okay with you, I'd like us to talk a little bit about that. But I also want to, I'd be remiss in saying that Dr. Derashay is also a multiple best-selling author. So she's not just a little green bean here on stage. This woman is really divinely inspired and bringing forth some powerful messages that I believe can help change and elevate and improve your life. So we talk about women often being queens, right? Sounds good. But and we know, from a kingdom living standpoint, we are joint heirs, right?
Yes.
Right. So if we truly believe that and embrace that, then tell us a little bit about this one devotion and why it's so important for us to be able to claim our throne, and why often are women shy about doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important. It's important, number one, to claim your throne because it's yours. It is yours. It is the place that God has given you so that you can make an impact in the world, right? And so when God has given us an assignment, if we don't claim that place or that space, we'll never be able to make the influence and the impact that we have been charged, commissioned, ordained, purpose, designed to do whatsoever. And if we don't claim it, someone else will. Many times women, because of fear, insecurity, the oppression of society and things of that nature, we don't step into that place. We don't step into that place. And some of us, if we step into that place, we don't own it. We don't own it. We don't own it because just the different fears and the background noises that keep us silent from moving in the fullness of our authentic selves. Right. And so I just believe as women, what we have to do once we understand the assignment or the purpose that God has given unto us, I think very rapidly and quickly, we need to make any necessary adjustments or modifications that need to be made so that we can take charge and do what we've been given permission to do by God without having to even consider man's permission before we move in the vision that God has given unto us.
Yeah, and that's powerful. And I loved, even though we hear it all the time, the term "own it." I mean, honestly, when you think about royalty, when we just celebrated the Queen Elizabeth's 70th reign, in 70 years, no one can say that this woman did not own that throne, and to this day still is owning that throne, right?
Absolutely.
So in like you said, being able to recognize your God-given destiny, and when you celebrate that, no one can really rock you off of that. You're not willing to say, I'm going to abdicate my throne. Really, you're going to abdicate your place in life that
Right.
can only be filled by you. And you said this. You said it is time to take ownership and possession of that in which God has entrusted us to do. We can no longer afford to operate our kingdom under the shadows or duplication of others. Let's
Yes.
talk about that duplication.
Yes, let's definitely talk about that duplication. Many times, sometimes we're in environments where people are producing many needs, right? But they're producing many needs, or they are trying to shape and mold you or mold individuals within their image and likeness. Within their image and likeness. And what happens when we are functioning or around people that are trying to shape us in their image and likeness, it dilutes who we really are. It takes us from coming from a place of being authentic in the design that God has given us. See, we've already been designed in the image and the likeness of God. And in God's design for our lives, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so there is no reason to make any form of alterations rather, in our lives. And so that's one way. One of the things is we are being duplicated by people in our environment. Who, giving us instructions on how they feel, the way they think that we should be doing certain things. Or we'll begin to try to pattern ourselves after other individuals because you may see their fame, you may see their fortune, and things of that nature. Even though you're not seeing the fight, you're not seeing the behind the scenes of what it takes for them to get there. And so we'll try to move and operate in their pattern. And see, and as we're trying to operate in their pattern, again, there we go. We're gonna be malfunctioning, right? You're gonna be malfunctioning. Why? Because your design is not their pattern. And so again, you're going to be walking in a place of falsehood, a place that's not authentic to who you are and who your being is. One of the things that I believe is that because everything is already preordained, right? And so if God have already planned out everything. And so if you are operating from a place of duplication or a place where you are copying someone else, you have just watered down the most valuable thing that you could ever offer to the world. The most valuable thing. And so then you become a watered down version of someone with really no value. But when you can move in your authentic self and your authentic state, that place is where no competition lies or absolutely anything. Why? Because you are an original design, tailor-made for the job, the assignment that God has given unto you. And so once you step into that place and own your throne and own your position, it's like voice activation. Once you get in there being authentically who you are, it's going to begin to send out through the land the frequency, and that others are going to pick up, who God has already designed to walk to the tune and work with you to the tune of the beat in which He has created you and designed you to be. Okay.
No. This is great, because this is, your book is meant to wake us up.
Yeah.
Right. So no, this is good. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was listening to you, I recently did a talk, and on the platform it was about your voice, and I was the only African American woman speaking at this particular event on this day, and I heard God just impress upon me how He wanted me to shift my message just slightly, and to proclaim who I was, to not be fearful to say in this sea of whiteness that I am a Black woman who has a voice that is a little different because of our lived experiences. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to be ashamed of who I am, and I also said whose I am.
Right.
But so often, Derashay, we struggle with wanting to be accepted. Mm-hmm. Right? We want to fit in, that we try to replicate, and it's like trying to fit that square peg in that round hole. We are who we are. And when we can embrace that, as you said, you know, the world is amazing. It's like the blessings start literally coming and overtaking you, but it's a little hard when you are trying to be someone else.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you're absolutely right. And I love, you said the word, you said to proclaim. And proclaim is, I mean, of course, that means to announce, right? To announce who you are. And it took me back to the word when King Cyrus had to pronounce, you know, the vision that God had given unto him. And he told him to go and make he said, go in and proclaim. What he told him? He said, go and proclaim and send a document out in the land, a written document out in the land, proclaiming what it is that he was designed to do. The other thing about that is, and proclaim means to announce. If you don't announce who you are, how can other people acknowledge who you are? How can you be acknowledged when you are afraid to proclaim or to announce? And so you are the statement. You are the statement. You got to understand, you're the statement, and you are it. And people are waiting. What we don't realize, LaWanna, is that people are waiting for your announcement. People are waiting for your announcement. And many a times, you know, we have that imposter syndrome and don't feel like, you know, we'll look at our culture, or we'll look at what's around us, and we'll try to blend in, when at the end of the day, what the room really need, or the environment really need, is the announcement of who you are and what you bring to the table, what you bring in the room, because you are there.
Yes.
And so you gotta own you.
Yes. And I often say, stop being on the sidelines of your own life. Right? It's like, get off the sidelines and get in the game of your life.
If I think when you do that, LaWanna, when you can begin to own yourself and own who you are and embrace who you are, celebrate, you know what I'm saying, who you are, no matter what your background has been. I mean, your history, no matter any of that, your family lineage, none of those things that when you just break away from all of those things and really, really just love you, celebrate you, and show up as you, people are going to appreciate you more. Not only is they're going to appreciate you more, they're going to understand you even more. And not only that, LaWanna, one of the things that I believe, and even what I experience, is that when you can remove away from all those things, it really opens up destiny for you. It open up those dreams and visions beginning and able to manifest, because now you are walking and moving and operating in your authentic self, and then you can even meet the right people in the right places and in the destination, in the correct destinations, so that you can continue to move further within your destiny.
Yes, yes. You see if I can find it here. I'm on my little Kindle. Um, you mentioned in your intro about being light, that we are meant to be light unto the world. And you said this project you're calling, and this is interesting, you're calling this devotional a project. So not only are you inspiring us, but you're inspiring us to action. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. So hence it becomes a project. We are works of arts, right? But we're always evolving, always improving. And you said this project is based on Matthew 5:14 and 16. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, excuse me, but out. I can't even read. I have my glasses, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And as you were saying, we have to proclaim, we have to announce, we have to show up, we have to own, we have to occupy, we have to sit on the throne of our lives and say, this is me. Yes?
Absolutely. This is me. This is who I am. This is my makeup, right? This is the makeup, of who I am, and not shy away from it. We live in a world, we live in a society that has created, right, that give a framework of what it deems to be worthy of certain things or what have you. But the truth is this, is that we don't have to bow down to what society's framework, because in the kingdom we don't operate in that particular framework. Because what I believe, when it comes to being that city on the hill that cannot be hidden, you got to hear that, it's a cannot be hidden. So even in the world's framework, within the world's framework, you're still undeniable. Somebody got to come on here. You're still undeniable when you show up as the light. They may not want you there.
Yes.
They may not want you there, but because you are who you are, because you are authentic, because you show up in the best version of you can't be denied. You cannot be denied, no matter how they feel about it whatsoever. And so you have to make that decision, and you got to understand that your purpose is to light up the world. It's to light up the world, because your purpose is the promise of God to somebody else. And when you show up in the world and you begin to move in that message, you begin to move in that mission, it begin to light up, to cause dark places to now, where the sun is now shining in it, right? The
Yes.
sun is now shining in it, and now the people are able to grab the hope that they've been looking for, so that now in turn they can begin to run with their message, right? They can begin to move and do what it is that they have been charged and commissioned to do, because they're no longer in the darkness. They have come to the light. They have gotten the light. You have, right? You know how one candle lights another, or one torch lights another, or what have you. And then we begin to spread like wildfire.
Yes.
Spread like wildfire in our own messages collectively, but bringing healing to the world, peace to the world, deliverance, to the world, right? Whatever our portions are, love to the world, joy to the world, whatever it is that we're called to do. But we're doing it individually, but in a collective way. In a collective way.
I love this. To those of you that are watching us live or joining in, we are here talking about the collaborative devotional inspirational book called Influence 365 by Dr. Derashay. And we're going over a couple of the inspirations. And the next one is Catch Your Vision. And you said, it gives sight as it brings vision. You're saying give sight as it brings individuals, businesses, or an organization to a specific point of focus. Therefore, maximize your resources and efforts as you utilize them to meet your particular target. Without visions, you're wasting time, resources, and efforts. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes, listen. Look, you know the word tells us, is that without, you see, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so if you don't have vision, you have no direction. See, vision let you know where you are going, right? It gives you an imagery of what's afar. And as it gives you that imagery of what's afar, or what's available for you to obtain, in between where you are and that particular vision, all the activities that you do, or the activities that you're doing in life, should be heading you toward that vision. So, but if you don't catch the vision and understand the vision that God has placed before you, you will stay in a place where you are running in circles. You'll be tossed to and fro by every wind, every new thing that come up, whatever hits the street. Oh, this is what hot this week. Now you chasing trying to do this, or this is what's hot next week, and now you're chasing trying to do that. It has nothing to do with your purpose, has nothing to do with your vision. It got you off track, off focus. And listen, you're doing a whole lot of things, and your results are a direct impact on the fact that you're not following your vision. You're putting out much, but you're getting in little. Somebody got to hear that.
Yes.
You're putting out much, but you're getting in little because you're not moving and operating in your God-ordained vision. Because you're too busy chasing the coins, or what they say, the bags. That's what they say. You're too busy trying to chase the bags. But this is the thing: if you chase them, you catch your vision. If you catch the vision, and if you go chase the vision, you catch the vision. Listen, I'm telling you, the bag is going to already be secured. The bag is going to be secure, yes, because your vision secured the bag for you. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's powerful. And one of the things that I saw, especially during, the first 2 years of the pandemic, is, we heard people were pivoting, people were shifting and changing, but what they were doing, they weren't pivoting in their unique lanes. They were pivoting and following others like the Pied Piper. And I'm thinking, you're gifted over here. Now you're doing something. It's like, why are you over there? And invariably it failed.
Right.
They ended up going back to what they knew, where they should be, or where their passion was. And I get it when life happens and maybe the income stream is drying up, or maybe it's just gone altogether. You're trying to find another way, but you're still focused on the vision. I mean, there's different paths that lead to the vision.
Absolutely.
But these individuals left their vision altogether and were following someone else's vision.
They abandoned the vision. They abandoned the vision. Look, you said something, very, very key is this, that you never lose sight of the vision. Never lose the sight of the vision. You know what I'm saying? Whatsoever, no matter what storm comes, no matter what wind come through, no matter what happens, never abort the vision, because and you said something very key. There are many ways, right? So you can be flexible on how the vision come to pass, right? Yes. You can be flexible on that, but you be stubborn on the vision itself, that you never, ever, ever move from, because that is the core of who you are. That's your DNA. That is your makeup, right? And anything else is not going to be sufficient for you. When we want to move in those lanes where you say, well, everything you touch going to prosper, it's the stuff that, that God has called you to do. right? Which is a part of the vision, a part of the plan that he has declared for your very life. So you got to stay focused on the vision. The thing is, there may be times where we have to make readjustments
Mm-hmm. Right.
in the activities that we're doing because what we're doing is not working. I mean, and that's something that we should be doing anyway, whether it's a pandemic or not. So, because we're in what? We're in the month, we're in June, we're almost at halftime of the year. So you
Yeah.
should be within halftime of the year. Whatever your vision was for this year, you need to see if you're on track. And if you're not on track, then what type of adjustments need to be made so that you can finish the year strong, right?
Exactly.
So you should be periodically, looking at the operation of the vision so that you can make any necessary adjustments so that your bottom line won't be impacted, so that you can complete the thing that you was commissioned out to do.
Yes.
And so you got to
I
keep
love
that
that.
in front of you. Go ahead.
No. This is great. I mean, we could go hours and hours, but we don't have hours and hours, so we're gonna get to the next point. The next one, you said embrace the shift. You said God is shifting things in the earth, and we're experiencing that right now. And many are being very resistant to the shift. Don't keep holding on to familiar things when God is trying to do something new in your life. Don't allow the way of the old to hinder you from stepping into the new in Jesus Christ. The former things cannot compare to what's to come. And Derashay, that is so true. We get so comfortable in our box, right? And that those comfortable old slippers, it feels good. We know it, and we that's basically fear
Mm-hmm.
preventing us from saying, okay, well, I hear that I should be going left, but it's working over here. I'm okay. Or we let someone talk us out of shifting, right? Because they're fearful.
Right.
So then they're trying to reel us back in. Like,
Mhm.
where are you going? And you mentioned, you said here, well, this is actually God says in Isaiah, do not remember the former things nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I mean, when you just sit right there, a road in the wilderness. I mean, it's like God saying, I'm going to carve a way where you can't even see of the way.
That
A river in the desert. I'm going to supply you with the sustenance, the life-giving needs when you don't think there's anything around you.
right. I just need you to trust me. I just need you to trust me.
Yes.
And expect. And what we have to realize, see, some people don't want to be those trailblazers, right? Don't want to be trailblazers. And the thing about it, because God is a God of originality. And so because he's a God of originality, there are ways or paths that he will carve out, right? Or things that you have to do that ain't nobody ever done. It ain't no pattern, it ain't no blueprint, because you're it. You're it. And so you can't get stuck with, oh, well, this was done this way, and this how this was done. No, what is the way that he's trying to get you to do, or he's telling you to do? Or you may have people in your ear, but that ain't gonna work that way because it has always been done this way. Okay, so listen, and most of the time that way ain't even working anymore. It worked for, and the other thing, some things work for the season.
Yes.
And so you have to make sure that when God is shifting, now when God shifting, he never shifts you from the vision. He shifts you, and he shifts you in a different way to make the vision happen. He shifts you in the season that you need to be in to get a step closer to the expected end. And so you have to understand that, and you got to know, and you have to know the difference, because just like you said earlier, some people just they abandoned the whole vision and they shifted totally into other places and other spaces, whether they did it on their own or they was convinced. But listen, that's why you got to claim your throne, and claiming your throne, you know who you are, what you've been called to do, and you don't move from that whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And I think we also have to be careful when we're having collaborations and partnerships is understanding, do you have a shared vision? You may be getting to it in different ways, but is it a complement? Because if it's not a complement, if it's these contrasting conflicting views, then someone's going to be pulling someone down eventually.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. LaWanna, that's one of the very first thing I make sure. How do we, or even when people approach me with things, I'm like, how do our vision align? We got to look at where our vision meets. So, because that is going to be the only place that we can work in. If it doesn't complement each other in any place, then we can't work together, because it's that place of complementary with both of the vision is where we'll be able to even do great things.
Yes. Do you have a copy of your book you can hold up?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, we are here with Dr. Derashay talking about Influence 365, a devotional. It's a project. It is a living book to help inspire you so that you can create impact, influence, and income in your life and in your business. Yes?
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about, there's so many great golden nuggets in this, and we don't have enough time for all, but I want to talk about divine interruption. And you said there's a divine interruption God is doing in your life. He is interrupting the plan of the enemy against your marriage, children, family, ministry, business, health, finances, education, and more. Your labor has not been in vain. God has heard your cry, just as he heard Mordecai in the book of Esther, and he is bringing your enemy to shame. God is turning it around for your good and in your favor. And Derashay, as we live, life happens. Mm-hmm. And I want like you to speak about this from this framework. We know there's a lot of mindset teachers out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not knocking them. But if we're not careful in how we're delivering these mindset messages, individuals may be crippled into thinking, well, if anytime something happens to me, it's just because I have the wrong mindset. Life can happen just because life happens. This body will eventually die. It wasn't meant to live eternally. Was that a mindset thing?
No.
Or is it just by design?
It's a natural by design.
Right? Hurricanes, tsunamis will happen. It's by design. So, I think it's, for me, this is just how I've looked at when the hurricanes and tsunamis happen in life. It's, God may be creating interruptions, getting my attention, but it's how I choose to respond and who I choose to lean on that will determine if I see them as stumbling blocks or rather stepping stones in my life, even in the most horrific things, right? So I want to turn that over to you about your what you meant when you wrote this devotional about divine interruption.
So let me say this is, you said something that was very, very key here. God, he said, I've declared a plan for you. And many a times we have the plan in our mindset already laid out. We have it already laid out. We have it figured out. And it just may not quite be the way that God had laid out that plan for you. And so, yes, life happens. And so when life happens, it comes to, and how I look at things, when life happens, storms and situations come, I'm going straight to the Lord. Okay, Lord. All right. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? Right? What do we need to do? Because this situation has came about, then you're in it, and I know you're in it, but what is it that we need to do? And sometimes God has to interrupt our plan so that not sometimes, let me back up. God had to interrupt our plan or our way that we think it should be happening so that his plan can manifest in our lives. And so you have to come into a place where you give no room, or you don't bow down to situations, circumstances, the enemy, or whatever that it may be. But however, you turn to the Father and you allow his word to be the lamp upon your feet and the light upon your path so that he can take you to the location of your destiny. Joseph, he didn't do anything to be in the pit. He didn't do anything to be in slavery in Potiphar's house. Neither did he do anything to be in the prison. But those particular paths that he took put him in the position at the right place at the right time with the right conversation so that his name can be mentioned to the king so that he can go to the palace. And so we need to look at those particular things or situations as when the word said all things is working for my good. I may not understand it while I'm in the middle of it. But I trust God through the process. I trust God, what in whatever it is that's happened, because guess what? I know when I trust God, I have faith in God, and I'm moving in the divine things that he's called for me to do. And trials and tribulation and storms have showed up, in my life. I trust him enough to cover me. I trust him enough with everything that I have, because I know that at the end of the day, and when all the dust settles, it's gonna come forth in my favor, because he's always working for my best interest. And not only that, he told me in Isaiah, he said, my word shall not come back to me void. It shall accomplish the purpose that I sent it forth to do. And he didn't say that trials and tribulations and anything else wasn't going to come in the way to try to hinder or prevent that from happening. Or he didn't say, right, that it was going to work out the way I played it out in my head and in my own mind. But if I trust him, if I trust him, it's going to manifest in his way, in his timing. And while I'm in the weight of it, allowing him to produce whatever necessary so that when I receive the promise, I'll be able to handle it.
Yes. I love that. And I want us to just kind of take a little moment and talk a little bit more about Joseph. To those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Joseph is a biblical reference. And he was the youngest son of Abraham, correct?
He was Isaac.
Isaac, yes, youngest son of Isaac. And he was just going along his merry way, looking up, loving his brothers, and they were jealous of him. They were jealous that his father, they felt, was doting on him. But keep in mind, they're adults. He's a child. And they put him in a pit. Then he was found and he was in prison. Then because of his visions and dreams and his ability to interpret the dreams, he was called to Potiphar's house, right? That's where he was.
Yeah, So his brothers, they was haters or whatever. And not only that, let's talk about, he had a dream. So let's start there. The dream started.
Well, yes. He started with the dream that they brothers were going to bow down to him. So like, what?
Well, he had a dream that he was going to be a leader. That's what.
Yes.
So his dream y'all got to hear. His dream started it all. So he had a dream that he was going to be a leader. He seen the stars and the moon bowing down to him, and the sun, which was a representation that they interpreted, his brothers and mother and father and all that thing and other things. And the daddy, the daddy loved him, right? As well. And so they hated on him and they wanted to kill him. His own brothers wanted to kill him because he had a dream, and they thought that his daddy, loved him more. And they put him in a pit to kill him. And one of the brothers said, let's not kill him. Here come some people from Egypt. He said, let us sell them. Let's sell him into slavery. And so they sell him into slavery to Potiphar.
Now pause right there. Pause right there for the listening audience. Now listen to this. This is his own family
That part.
Right. This is his own family. Okay, continue.
So they still him into slavery to go to Potiphar's house, who is the slave master. So Potiphar, being the slave master, he served Potiphar, and apparently he served him very well because he rose to the top leadership still right there in slavery. And then Potiphar's wife got an eye for him, and so she wanted, she wanted, and she was trying to get him. He was doing some work, doing his normal stuff, and she tried to get him to have sex with her. And when he wouldn't, she lied on him. And she lied on him and said he tried to rape her. And it caused Potiphar to send him off to prison.
Okay, pause right there. How many of you at any point in your life, it may not be that drastic, but were falsely accused of something? It could even be in the workplace, right? You're falsely accused. And now what? Continue.
So then he gets to the prison and he's doing everything. He rose to the top. So now he is leading everything in the prison. The king get upset with the baker, right? And the cupbearer. And so they come into, he throws them into the prison where they happen to meet Joseph. They're in prison. They have a dream. He interprets their dream. Tell them, oh, you guys are going to get out. When you get out, don't forget about me. Now, he told one of them, look, you're going to die because this is what your dream means. And he told the other one, that he'll be restored back into his position with the king, which was the cupbearer. So they leave. What Joseph said manifests. 4 years, a couple of years later, they still forgot to drop the name. The cupbearers forgot to drop the name. But the king began to have dreams that he needed to have interpreted. Nobody in the land could interpret these dreams for him. This is the king of Egypt. And then at that moment, the cupbearer remembered Joseph in the prison. And he tell him there's a man in the prison who can interpret dreams. He called for Joseph. Joseph interprets the dream. When Joseph interprets the king's dream, the king then immediately rose him to second place within the land. He rose him to the second position within the kingdom. Only thing that wasn't given under to Joseph was everything except for the title of the king itself. Nobody could move in the land without Joseph getting the permission. And he had Joseph and allowed Joseph to develop a strategic plan so that when the famine came, this is the dream. The dream was about the famine that was coming and what they needed to do. And so he told them what needed to take place, and he laid out the strategic plan so when the famine hit the land, that the Egypt would have stored enough that was going to be necessary for the 7 years. They would have enough food storage for the 7 years that the land would be in famine.
What I love about that story, it shows the twists, the turns where you think, ooh, life is good. Oh my gosh, it's dark again. It's this undulating journey, but the thread, the tie that binds is his gifting of dream interpretation, his commitment to whatever role he was in. Even as a slave, he did it in excellence to where he was awarded, relatively speaking, leadership position.
Yes.
For the appointed time. So sometimes our time, Dr. Derashay, is not God's time.
Right.
Sometimes the journey is years in the making. And we have to be okay with that, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Because we don't want to have things that are premature because we're trying to force things in our specific and the timing that we so desire to do. The other thing I like about Joseph is in the midst of the storms, the trials, what was going on in his life, one thing that you can say about his attitude is that he did not allow whatever he was in to dictate his attitude. He always showed up in excellence. And the reason why I say that, because if he did not show up in excellence, he would never been able to rise in leadership in any one of those places that he was in. And so that leader was in him no matter where he was. So no matter what situation or trials or tribulations that you come before you, that comes before you, what God has placed in you is there. Use it. Use it.
Yes.
Right there in the midst of it. You use it in the midst of it, because guess what? It'll take you further faster. It'll take you further faster. Right?
We are
Because
almost out of time, and I want us to get into the last one, which is launch into the deep. And the story that you wrap this around is when the disciples were out fishing, and they were discouraged because they weren't catching enough fish, and they came back and they're like, it's, the waters just aren't producing for us. And Christ is like, no, I need you to throw that net on the other side. I need you to cast it on the other side. And the nets were so full with fish that they almost broke. And sometimes we have to be willing to go into, he told them to go out into deeper waters, right? Because the shallow waters, again, that's familiar. That's where everybody's swimming.
Right.
That's where everyone is. Not many are able to go out into the deep. When you think about some of the most powerful, I'm thinking just looking at fish, the most powerful whales that are out there. I mean, those are massive creatures that God has created. But if you want to see them, if you want to catch a glimpse of them, you got to travel out into deep waters, because they're not coming to the shallow shores unless something has happened, right? And they're washed up. But for the most part, if you want to see them in their excellence, you're going to see them in the deep. So I'm going to take myself down for 5 minutes, and I'd like you to close us out talking about launch into the deep, and then I'll come back on so we can close out this amazing discussion.
Yes, absolutely. So many a times as entrepreneurs, and and whatever it is that you do, we want to stay in familiar places. Because you got to understand that Peter then was very trained and skilled as a fisherman. They knew what to do, when to do, how to do it, because they have been doing it for so long. And that's just like how many of us are. And because we're skilled at what we do, and we're trained in what it is that we do. And we are familiar, and so we're comfortable with where we're at. But what you got to understand is there's places where brooks are just dried up. Brooks are dried up, or it is very saturated. And so God is calling us. It's a deep calls to the deep. And so because God desire more for you, and because God want more for you, he's calling you out into deeper places, that you got to come from the shadow. You got to come from in places where things have dried up as well, so that you can get God's absolute best for you. He told them, listen, yes, they have been out there all night. Yeah, some of y'all have been in places for years, forever, and you're afraid to move from there because that's your place of comfortability, or that may have been a place where that was your sweet spot before. But God has said, no, not there anymore. I have called unto you and need unto you in for a greater place. You have got everything that you're going to be given to you right there. You've outgrown places. You've outgrown places and things, and or what have you. He said, listen, I want you to go great. I want you to go farther. farther. And if you're going to go farther, you're going to have to come out deeper. And that means you're going to have to come from the norm. You got to come from the familiar places. You got to come in places, right, that some that even intimidate you, so that God can show you that not only that you deserve to be in the room, but that he will give the room over to you because of what it is that he's called forth in you. You just have to trust him. See, at that moment in that time when he told them to go out into the deep, they heard. And when they heard, listen, they moved out and they caught fish so in such a great capacity, they had to call others to help them. And see, listen, God wants you to come out into the deeper places, into the deeper things, so that you can catch an abundance of what you have not yet seen before, so that you can catch an abundance, right, that you can have so much in an overflow that you can bring others to the table. You can bring others in the environment to get some of that, because it's too much for you to carry. He want to bring you into that place of overflow. And so if you're going to get to the place of overflow, you got to come out of the shadow. You got to come out of the shallow places, the familiar places, and you got to get in places that are unknown to you, that is not familiar to you, and trust God in those places so that he can take you to greater heights, to greater depths than the places that you ain't even begin to imagine yet on where God is going to take you. You have to listen and obey, and it's okay. It is absolutely okay. There may be some people you just gotta leave right there because they're probably not ready to go where or can't go where God desired to take you. Jesus said, I came so that you can have life, and you can have life more abundantly. And you're gonna have to come to the deep for the abundance. Look, he said they went to the deep. They got to the deep, and it was way more than they can even begin to handle. And that's what God wants to do in your life, your business, your ministry, and your family. He want to put all of that into a state of overflow, in the state of the abundance, where you can provide for other people, where you can show other people the way, right there in the deep. In the deep is where God wants to mature you, and the deep is where God wants to show you a greater depth in him, a greater place in him, a greater height in him, that God want to show you that you deserve more, that he has more for you, but you got to step out in the deep. Amen. Even in your fears and your doubts and all those other things, because there's places that God wants to take you, but you got to step out in the deep to receive it.
I love it. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for saying yes, for coming on to Power of the Pen. Ladies, can you hold up the book again to the listening audience? You can go to Amazon.com for Influence 365 by visionary author Dr. Derashay. This is an amazing read. Love the spiritual references. Love the devotion tied to it, and the application to help us to elevate in life and in business to increase our impact, influence, and income. Yes?
Yes.
Well, to our listening audience, thank you again so much for joining us. So if you on E360 TV and other social media, we will see you next Sunday at 2 p.m. for another edition of Power of the Pen. Until then, we encourage you to find your voice, be bold, show up unapologetically in your life, sit on that throne, and be a person of impact and influence. The world is waiting for you. Until next time, bye, everyone.
Thank you guys for having me.